Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. Welcome back to the show. We are so excited to have our next guest joining us again, Leah Wiggs. She's our personal development coach. And go to the website. It's the LeahNicoleWiggs.com. We'll start there. That's the Leah Nicole Wiggs, Wiggs.com. We're going to talk about all she's doing to help support amazing people and really rise up above the rest, as you say, and develop that relationship with Jesus Christ. And she joins us here live today once again from, is it Virginia, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Coming from Carrollton, Virginia.
Beautiful. So she's here on a transformative journey, helping you will join her. And there's so much that she can help you with. So let me have her introduce herself. Hello and good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Listen, I am excited to be here. So my name is Leah Nicole Wiggs. I am a disruptive life coach, and I love doing disruptive work. And I know when you hear that, you probably are like, that sounds a little abrasive,
Like what? But what?
but
Yeah, but
really.
some people might not know what that is. Tell us what a disruptive life coach is.
Yeah, absolutely. So a
And it's a good
disruptive
thing.
life coach, yes, it's a beautiful thing because sometimes we need a little shake up.
Pick
So
me up.
my job, my responsibility, I feel like my calling is to really help people that have been in a rut, that have been in cycles that are just not producing positive outcomes for them. And they don't really know where to go. And so sometimes they need someone to kind of shake some things up, ask some tough questions, and help them to kind of reset where they actually want to be currently, but also where they want to go. And so a disruption is sometimes the very thing that is a catalyst for the next. And so I love being the type of person that kind of initiates that with a lot of people.
Beautiful. And I know you're all about community, right? And giving
Absolutely.
those in the community the necessary skills to succeed. Could you share a little bit about this?
Yeah. So one, community, or koinonia is another term for it,
Oh,
fellowship. Yeah, a Greek term, but koinonia is a term that really means bringing people together in order to actually become better, not just to gather, right? But
okay.
to build community so that there's purpose and direction. And so I love community building because I think in our society today, there's so many people that feel like they're connected virtually with everyone, but they really don't have a sense of community that knows them, that sees them, that has a sense of their values and their goals and the things that they're wanting to accomplish. And so my desire is always to bring people together to actually help them to be seen, to
Mm-hmm.
be known, and I do that in a myriad of different ways. One is by doing retreats.
Yep.
Um, I love making spaces for women and men, but specifically right now, women, giving them an opportunity to break away from like the regular routine of their lives and say, hey, I matter too. It's important that I serve, and it's important that
Yep.
I'm doing my mothering thing, I'm doing my community thing, my church thing. But where's the thing that I get to do for me? And so making space for women to just say, this is going to be a weekend or 3 or 4 days
Mm-hmm.
where I get to pour into myself. And so in those spaces, we have private chefs, we have massage therapists, we have facials, because sometimes we just need that moment to come together with other girls that love the Lord, but also just need to step away and come back to themselves. And so I love it. I love doing it.
Beautiful. Well, thank you for being here. And I know, I mean, you work with individuals, you work with groups. You also, just for those that may not know a little bit about the Rise Up, right? Could you
Yeah.
share what that is and, of course, how we
Yeah.
join? And then we'll get into today's conversation, and
So
talk about
cool.
whatever it is that's important to you and to get our listeners uh, into taking that next step that they really want to, but may have been scared because they don't have that guidance to kind of
Yeah.
disrupt and change. Yeah.
Absolutely. I love that. So, the Rise Up community, this is a space we meet on Tuesday and Wednesday mornings at 5:30 in the morning. Yes, I said it, 5:30 in the morning, Eastern Standard Time. We meet,
Are we on Zoom, by the way?
yep, we're on Zoom. We're meeting
Half
on
asleep with our cup of coffee, hair and makeup a
Absolutely.
mess. All right, that's okay.
Absolutely. And that's the thing. You said it. I don't want people coming into that space all done up. Who's done up at 5:30 unless you're like a news anchor or something, right?
Yes, yes.
But I think it's important that people come together in that space and we open the word, we study the word together. Like you said, cups of coffee,
Hmm.
bonnets on, robes on, really raw and authentic, because that's where you really get to see people for who they really are. And sometimes we need that type of space. And so in that space, we do a lot of leadership development, self and personal reflection. And right now in that space, I'm studying the women in the Bible. And so I think oftentimes in the word we hear about Paul and James and Moses, and that's great. But what about Lydia and Rebecca
Yeah.
and Sarah, right? Like there are women that have significant stories. And so in the Rise Up community, we not only study the women that have significant stories, but we ensure that our stories are also significant in our world.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And what did you kind of want to focus on for today with your listeners and viewers here, Nicole, Leah Nicole, I should say. There's a lot that you have to offer and a lot that you're teaching people. Do you want to share some of that with us? What did you
Yeah,
have
I
in
would love to.
mind?
So really, the thing that's on my heart today is what it really means to have a sense of belonging. I think so often, even in workspaces, one of the areas that I'm always teaching in, coaching in, speaking in at colleges and universities is you can be in an environment and feel as if you are engaged, but really not even really present. You're there, but no
Okay.
one knows you. No one really sees you. No one
Mm-hmm.
actually has an understanding of what's really going on with you. And if spaces were to actually take time to get to know the people in them, take 10, 15 minutes in a meeting and say, how are you all doing today? Outside of work, those
Yeah.
are the things that make people feel like they have a place that they belong, but also that it improves authenticity in a space. It improves work ethic and work morale. And so that's really what I'm focusing on for my job right now, and ensuring that I'm taking this week to highlight my teams and ensure that they see themselves, but also that they feel like someone cares to know their story a little bit.
Oh, and I know you've given me some examples in the past and shared some, the work that you've done with others and how it's impacting their lives. And by the way, there's, a lot to the process, right? You call it the disruptive transformation process. And
Yeah.
I think I read some of the testimonials that were on your website last time. But there's one I know, actually, I did. But there's just another one that I pulled up that I didn't speak about. It's Sean Palmer, Director,
Yeah.
Upperman African American Center, said last year at our annual Black Student Leadership Summit, we invited Leah Campbell to be our keynote speaker, which, by the way, she's also a keynote speaker, ladies and gentlemen, as well as to be the facilitator for two additional sessions. She did an outstanding, phenomenal job seeking to train students, providing insight, offer advice. She spoke to where students were providing space for vulnerability, remain authentic in her presentation as well. And the others have talked about, the impact sessions and what you brought to them and how engaged you were. And, you know, taking, accountability, but also knowing you could really change your life in a sense.
Yeah. So Sean Palmer, man, God bless him. He and I have worked really, really for a long time together. He used to be the African American director for UNC Wilmington.
Okay.
That was my alma mater. And I've done a lot of different sessions with Greek students there, just leadership departments there. And the impact session that I'm always talking about is not only making an impact in your own life, but making an impact in those that are around you. Impact is an acronym. I'm an acronym girl, if you haven't figured that out. But impact stands for intentionality, mindfulness, passion, adaptability, communication, and time. And so I believe those are the key areas that help us to make an impact. But like he said, my thought is oftentimes we don't actually show up as our authentic selves. We put on masks
Mm-hmm.
that seems to be the things of the world. It seems to open doors. But I've learned in my journey, and what I try to encourage anyone that works with me, is that if you show up more authentic and take that mask off, the impact is greater.
Ah,
You're exponentially greater, because most people today are looking for the real, but we've forgotten how to be that
yep.
when everything around us requires us to put on the makeup and put
And the
on
show.
the fit and
Yep.
put on
Mm.
the filters on Instagram, right? But
Oh, yeah.
when we can just strip that and be human again and just engage with other people, it actually opens doors and allows people to really see who you are, which allows them to become even more engaged. And so that's how impact really spreads. I love those types of environments because I get to work with students that are college students. They're always in transition, and that's the
Hmm.
my bread and butter area. People that are in transition. They know that they're not quite where they want to be, but they also know this can't be the end of their story. This is not where they want to be. And so when you're in transition, helping people to, like I said, disrupt some of the mental cycles, some of the patterns, and really address what is it that hinders you? What is it that is stopping you? And then get to the core of that thing and
Yeah.
uproot so we can move forward and really make an impact wherever we go. So
I
I love it. I love it. It's the thing that it drives me on a regular
I
basis.
was going to ask for those that may not know, maybe didn't tune in last time, a little bit about your background. And I was just going to ask, what does drive you? What brought you here to be in this
Yeah.
line of work? Would you mind just sharing that?
Yeah, well, let's begin with my journey as a child. I grew up as a military kid.
Hmm.
Both of my parents, former Marines. My dad was also in ministry all my life. And so, if you can imagine being the oldest sibling of
Oh
four,
gosh.
um, got two Marines as parents and
Yeah.
a pastor as a father. And so, you've got a lot of structure, a lot of boundaries,
Hmm.
a lot of discipline.
Yeah.
And in that, I think my parents were just pushing us to be our very best. They're just always talking about how we can engage in the community, but also how you engage with yourself. So my mom, she was the avid reader. She was like, if you're not reading, you're not leading. So like you got to read a book, you got to open something. And so I growing up in that type of environment and then getting to go into college and experience leadership in so many different ways, whether
Oh,
that was volleyball, whether that was um, Greek life, whether that was just an ambassador for the university. I loved making sure that people knew what they could expect, but also engaging with people to make their experience better. And so that led me to working in higher education for 10 years. And I worked at some of the top institutions across the country. Um, and one thing I found in those institutions, Stanford, Duke, Purdue, every student in those environments, every person that worked in those environments, they're all aiming and striving
yeah.
for the same thing. They just want to be a better self. They want to make an impact in the world, but make a better impact within themselves. And so that's what's driven me is constantly meeting people that want more and give them opportunities to go find it.
And who do you, is that from your parents, would you say? Where did you get that from, that
Yeah,
drive?
I think it comes from my parents. My dad is like my best friend. He's such a
Hmm.
engaging man in his community and doing great things. My
Oh,
mom, the passion for nurturing people and being authentic. My mom is just like straight up
yeah.
no chaser. But I think ultimately my faith has
Aw,
been a driving force. I believe Jesus was the main disruptor. He came and he didn't disrupt in ways that were abrasive or how people wanted him to. He did it in love. He did it in kindness. He did it in transparency and vulnerability. And I think if we're going to model anything,
yep.
let's do that. Yeah.
Beautiful. And can I just ask a random question since you are from a military family? Why do people call themselves military brats? Like you didn't use that term, but what is the difference with military brat or I grew up in my father's in the military. I'm just curious.
Yeah, so I actually don't know. I don't know why they say we're brats. My
Yeah.
assumption is that because we move around so much, we're exposed to so much, and so we kind of want things to be a certain way.
Okay.
Possibly for me, I don't use that term because I'm a military child.
Yeah.
We just were children that grew up in a different type of environment, and so I don't know. That might be something we need to ask some listeners. If you know,
Thank you. Thank you. I
please.
was like, it sounds a little to me like derogatory, like not nice, like just, but brat, no, bratty to me seems like not a nice kid. No, I think like it gives you more skills and more, a capability to deal with different situations, different people if you're on the move. But I don't know. I'm just curious. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no worries, no worries, no worries.
Really? Yeah, yeah. Yeah. What would you say some of the biggest challenges in your life have been to this day?
Oh, that's a really good question. Mm. So in my head, I went to two different places. One of the biggest challenges for me, and I think this is probably what also drives my passion for authenticity, is that I was picked on a lot. So I am
Oh,
5'11", but I've been 5'11" since I was probably 11. And so grew up very fast and grew up very tall. And so I was always picked on as like the Jolly Green Giant, and they used to call me Olive Oil for those that are old enough to know
Uh-huh.
about that whole show. So I got bullied a lot and picked on a lot, and that caused me to want to become a chameleon. And so I would adjust to make myself likable in every situation, um, just to appease people. And from that, I think it made me think that I wasn't worthy in the authentic design that I am. It made me question whether I was good enough.
Yeah.
Was I enoughness enough, right? And so I think when I broke that cycle, that mental cycle, when I came into the truth of my identity, not only in Christ, but as a woman, as a Black woman, um, I realized that overcoming that helps me to help other people overcome some of the same mental hangups. So I think if you're saying one of the major challenges was just low self-esteem based off of my experience and exposure, I
Yeah.
was also I was always, you hear this often, like the Black kid that was called the Oreo. So because I was a military kid and constantly around people that spoke really well and had to learn just different language and how to articulate myself in environments, I got picked on for that as well. And so I think one of the most empowering things I learned was your authenticity will make room for you.
Yeah.
Your authenticity will actually make room for you. But if you're trying to be like everybody else, where does
Mm-hmm.
you go? Right. And so I tend now to just show up as me through and through. Um, and that has actually probably propelled me to trust my design,
Great.
trust that I was designed this way on purpose. I've always been tall, I've always stood out. And whatever random feature you
Mm-hmm.
may have for those that are listening, know that it was on purpose and that there is a purpose for it.
Beautiful. So you see, and a lot of people in leadership positions like yourself who are here, advising and helping, guiding. Some people may think, oh, well, their life is so great. They're so wonderful. They have this. No, no, you've all, I feel, really have walked the walk and shared your own, self-doubt, your own, fair share of challenges, as
Mhm.
well to get you here. But now it's kind of like you learn those tools. You learn, how to grasp all that and to look forward towards that outcome for the future with the better things. So I just wanted to, establish that. And I love,
Thank
that you're so transparent about that. And sometimes people aren't as open, who doesn't don't want to share. So you start working with someone sometimes, I'm sure, right? And you're
you.
getting to know them and they don't open up right away, right? But usually would you say there's something always underlying their fear or their why they're not succeeding, why they're not what's the word, excelling? Is
Yeah.
there always something? How do you get that out
Yeah.
of them? Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. So, two questions. The first is, what is the underlying? Usually, rejection, fear, self-doubt is such the inner critic constantly telling someone that they're not good enough or they're not going to be successful. And then on the other hand, you have people that are like, what if I succeed
Yeah.
and I'm not able to actually handle the capacity of my success?
Hmm.
Because my rhythms and my habits are not. So both sides of the spectrum. But most of the time, it's fear of rejection, fear of success, and most importantly, self doubt. I think we have a lot of things in our heads that say that are enough. We're just not enough, and that's just not even true. So breaking that. But the thing that I think causes people to propel and go into their future is them actually unlocking what's unique and what's cool about you, right? Like what stands out about you? What is the natural proclivity that you have that other people don't just you can't make it up. You just are able to get it. Some people are very clairvoyant and they're able to kind of
Yeah.
discern in different environments. Some people have a sense of humor and they don't see that as a gift. But
Hmm.
one of the things I'm always trying to dive into is what is unique about you. And when you can hone in on those things and then bring that strength out or bring
Yeah.
that skill set out, it just helps people to see themselves in a different light. And that starts to shift how they see themselves and then how they move in accordance to the world. So that's
Beautiful.
usually it.
All right. Well, what else do you want your listeners to know about you and about the work you're doing? Obviously, we're excited that you're here, and I want to remind everyone before we do so how we can contact you. If you are just tuning in, Leah Wiggs, how do we contact you, darling?
Yeah, so you can find me on social media platforms at the Leah Nicole Wiggs. That's on Instagram, that's on
Yeah.
Facebook. You can find me at theleahnicolewiggs.com. That is the website. And then if you need to contact me and you're like, I just feel like I need some time, I need to talk to somebody, you can contact me and my team at 919-985 3019. Once again, that's 919-985 3019. The last thing I think I want people to know is that in 2025, I know I got to bring some retreats back because I need to
Ah,
create some spaces
yeah.
for people to just, again, like I said,
Yeah.
recharge, reset. And so right now, my team and I, we are working on a international trip. We're looking at Thailand and we're looking at Bali, and we're also looking at, just going to Mexico. Some people are like, Mexico, everyone goes there all the time, but different places,
And
different.
what are we doing on these retreats? Tell us. How
Yeah,
do they
yeah. So
work?
in these retreats, we're definitely going to do some disruptive work. We're going to do some deep diving inside self, but we're also going to have a lot of fun because I think getting
Yeah.
away, you've got to reset, but you got to do something different. So every retreat, there's always some type of excursion where you're going to have to push yourself and to do something different. You're going to meet really cool people from all over. And then, of course, I love a good pampering session. So I want you to go back rejuvenated and refilled. And so we're going to do some massages. We're going to do those facials. We're going to make sure that you don't have to go to the kitchen and make breakfast for yourself. There's somebody there to do that. And I appreciate those moments. Not that that comes often, but sometimes you just need to sit back and enjoy and ensure that you're worthy of someone taking care of you for a moment. And so that's what we're looking forward to in 2025.
Yay,
Yeah.
exciting. And so if you're going away, as a group as a whole, I'm assuming do you arrange everything like the hotel and everything and becomes a
Yeah.
group type of okay.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. So
where was the last one that you did, by the way?
our last one was in the United States, but we went to Corolla, North Carolina, which is the Outer Banks of North Carolina. We were in a three-story oceanfront beach house, and really connected with nature, but also with one another. In that space, we always ensure that we have all meals are taken care of, that's all drinks are taken care of.
Yeah.
Your bed spaces, we had individual king size rooms, en suites, so you get to have the privacy of your own room.
Hmm.
And that kind of sometimes for moms and for women that have lots of people around all the time,
Yeah.
just getting a chance to breathe is just a relaxing thing in itself. That can be enough of a transformation in itself. But yeah, so we were in Corolla, North Carolina, the Outer Banks. It was beautiful. I try to do 2 retreats a year, and so
Okay.
we're going to do one in the spring and then one in the fall. And
Oh,
I just want to do something out of the country this time. Go explore, see something more. Um, yeah, and see what the
because
Lord.
life is too short. I say that all the
Correct,
time. You have to
correct,
start living. And then it's like,
correct.
well, what about the expense? What about this? Work
Yeah,
hard,
payment
save, do
plans.
bucket trip, like bucket list, like for your trips. That's what I do with for me and my kids. But it's true. Start
Yeah,
saving, put a little aside every paycheck, 20 something dollars here, there adds up.
correct, correct. And I
Um,
always do payment plans because it's important that we plan ahead and
yeah.
make sure those budgets are in alignment for it. But let's make time. Let's make room.
Perfect. Thank you so much. We still got 4 more minutes left here on the show. What
Yeah,
else do you think is insightful for us to know? I mean, I'm just curious. So you're also a faith-based program in a sense, right? Could you share a
yeah.
little bit about that too?
Yeah, so I do leadership development for organizations and don't have to bring uh
Mm-hmm.
Jesus Christ's name into things, but I believe that my faith is always going to go into anything I'm doing.
Yeah.
So but the rise up space, the retreat spaces, those are faith-based. We will be talking about Jesus Christ. We will be worshiping. We will open the word because I think it's important. But
Mm-hmm.
if I'm speaking at a college or if I'm doing a leadership development
Yeah.
training, then I'm doing work to help your team grow. And for me, growth is a part of the kingdom. And so all of it ties in. But for me, faith is beyond just what people say, it's how you live, right? It's not just words, it's not just a cross on your neck. It's really about how you engage with people. It's really about how you show up in the
So
world.
true.
And
Yeah.
so my belief is that we're called to be the light in dark places and to not be hidden, but to be on a hill and shine bright as we can. And so that is what I want to leave with people is today, if you're hearing this, go be a light for someone. Don't like I think Auntie Tabitha Brown, she always says, like, if you're having a bad day, don't go messing up someone else's. What I want to say is actually just go and be a light for somebody. Like, smile.
Yeah.
It goes a long way, trust me.
Hold that door at the supermarket for someone,
Come
smile, say
on.
hi. Let that person go in front of you. Don't get angry, you know?
Correct. Yeah. Like, pay for somebody behind you in the Starbucks line. I promise you, it goes a long way. But I think today, just go and be a light. That's what I'm gonna do.
Beautiful. Well, I love it. And if someone's interested in working with you, could you share, do you offer you initial a contact, a free discovery call, I think it
Yeah,
is?
discovery call, clarity call on my website.
Yeah.
It is for 15 to 20 minutes. And my hope is that people will come if they are looking for one-on-one coaching. I do that virtually. I ensure that we take time, and it's not just, a 2 or 3 week period. It is a
Mm-hmm.
6 to 12 month program. Sorry, 6 to 12 session program, because I think you got to spend some time to really do the work, but I'm open. I want to make sure that people have someone to speak to. And if you're looking
Beautiful.
to grow and change and move forward, I'm your girl. Let's get to
Great.
it.
Yay. Thank you so much. All right. Well, great
Thank
talking
you.
to you. And
As
we'll be
always.
back again next week. I'm
Yeah.
getting confused with our holidays. It's Thanksgiving's not till the end of the week, fine. So we should be here next week. Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. Perfect. Excited to chat with you. And feel free if you have anyone that wants to talk to us that's worked with you in the past, you could always bring them on as a guest. Just an idea. Don't have
Sure.
to, but that's just an idea to talk. Maybe get their experience, but not necessary. Looking forward to
Yeah.
speaking with
We'll
you
do it. We'll
again.
keep
All
it. We'll
right.
keep it open. Yeah. Thank you,
Sounds
Jen,
good,
so
sweetheart. You
much.
have a great day. And to all of our listeners and viewers, stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.